G'day, g'day, ladies and gents, and we are back for another round of racing in PAR. This time we're at Silverstone track with, in recent history, quite good racing. As we've seen this season, last season, 5-car battles, iconic moments such Frigo's Hamilton. So this should shape up to be a good race as the first cars are now beginning to come out on track, and that is Stealth Rex. It's gonna be the first car out, I think. Nope, he's been jumped by the Williams. I don't really know who's getting out first. This is gonna be the Williams of Taru, be the first on track today. And a lot of new drivers in this tier. It'd be interesting to see their pace, especially at a track that generally is quite varied. As we see, it looks a bit of battle on the art lap now. The Stealth Rex is going for the overtake. He wants to be the first out in this. I think we are still actually missing a few drivers as the Alpine Sonorous is missing. I don't know if he can't race or maybe he's going to turn up in the middle of qualifying, but we shall see, as it's interesting he's not here. As now Stealth just comes down into the final chicane to start his first flying lap session. He's going around Club Corner on the finish strip. Just going to ride on board in this lap. That's a lovely line for Abby. Just keep it nice and tidy for this section. Looks like a bit of a moment on the exit. Down onto the Wellington straight, he's going to get that DRS open. This DRS is hugely powerful in this game. It'll be interesting to see what impact that's going to have on the race. As he sets a 27.3 in the first sector. Stealth Rex is one of the fast drivers in this tier. It was heavily dominant races such as Brazil last season, where he just ran away with it, almost. There's now 3 cops flat out, going down in the fast flowing section of Mike's and Beckett's. He keeps it nice and tidy on the apexes. Then in the chapel corner, he's going to need to get a good exit, as this next DRS zone is crucial for his lap. Back down into the final chicane. It's nice and tidy again. This already looks like a pretty decent lap. The first lap of the day coming around Club Corner, and it's going to be a 25.7. And that is a solid lap to start off the runnings. Who's going to be the next cross line? It looks like it's going to be the Alfa Romeo. I've looked at the map wrong. This time's now coming back in. And Prodiigy in a 26.1. Prodiigy's going to be one of the drivers to look out for in this race. He's been consistent at the top for seasons now. He's one of those like hog drivers in the tier. A bit of a championship battle with him a couple of seasons ago. And it's going to be interesting to see if he can sort of reclaim his title that he did have stolen from him by Side last season. Now, it's like mixers going on the lap. Or maybe he might have invalidated. The Silent Dev has a bit of a moment. With her onboard rulings, he goes through Mags and Beckett's. And really something I haven't seen in a long time PR, as he does actually invalidate his lap. So now we go on board with side. Is he starting a lap? No, he has... He might be on a lap. I'm not too sure. Just go right on board with him anyway. Interesting, will he be battling with Prodigy at the front today? The Prodigy actually this last night put quite a strong showing in the tier above. So it will be interesting how well he can emulate that performance today. AlphaTauri even just ducks out of the way. Yellow flags all down the straight, so Mercedes going slowly. We're going to the final section of the lap, and his sector times look pretty decent. And come round, it's a good exit into the club corner. Probably could have taken a bit more curve if we want to, and that is a 26.5 for Side FX to start off his qualifying. So I will look at Mixer, I think, who is starting the lap. Mixer, I have not heard from in a long time, since first season I'd been racing. Used to be one of the top drivers of the tier. They've actually won the championship 3 seasons ago. Briefly was up in tier 1, but he's back down now. I'll be interested to see what sort of fights he'll be putting together. It's going through into the left field, keeping it nice and tight. Just running away just to get that better exit and not run down the cops, which is crucial. In the cops, when you go flat out, and he keeps it nice and tidy. And right out, using as much curb as he can. In the Mikes and Beckett's, hitting all the apexes, hitting as much curb. And this lap looks solid. And I'm just going to go down in the stow. And this could be potentially a front row, maybe top 4 lap, as Lucifer goes in P3 as Mixer cross lines 26.9. Not quite the lap it seemed like it was shaping up to be, but still not a bad lap regardless. He's now right on board with Ruben, who's finishing his lap 1.2 seconds down on the leader, and he is actually pitting. It's McLaren, I think, is on the lap. Currently sitting in P7, 26.6. Isn't a bad lap. Is up there. They might actually get slipstream down this straight, as there's a car going slowly in front, and he lets off the throttle, so he mustn't be on a lap. So his back's out there. One of the more interesting drivers in the tier probably has to be Simon Dev, because he's not always the fastest, but somehow he always seems to be either at the top or he's always in some sort of battle. He's always just in the action, no matter where he is. So even if he's not fighting for the win, he is providing entertainment wherever he races. Now we're going to try and find this Haas who looks like he's going to be starting a lap. I believe Jesse is actually one of the race winners this season, or please do not quote me on that. As he comes around Club Corner to start his lap. It's really interesting to see where he places himself. Right now he's currently got the slowest ballot lap on track, but that can change pretty easily. As it gets nice and tidy through there. You get the power down right at, run out onto the curb down to the Wellington straight as he opens his DRS. Huge advantage. That rear wing open. Breaking into 50 mirror boards. Trying to hug that curb as much as you can. And through Luffield, you want to drift a little bit wide and then come back in. As he demonstrates beautifully. On the run in the Cups. Because obviously one of the most iconic corners in Formula 1. It's flat out. As a perfect demonstration of these modern F1 cars' capabilities. As through the Magnussen Beckett section now on the Chapel. As a bit of a moment, it looks like his rear end does step out. So I have to wonder, especially going on the straight, how much time that actually costs him in his lap. But it looked like a pretty good lap shaping up until that point. As now he comes down in the stow. Round, he's taken all the curb on club. And his lap is P2 is 126.0. But that lap from Stealth Rex, honestly, first lap of the day, and looks like it could possibly be the best lap of the day. As Miller's actually in P6, I didn't quite catch his lap. Now we look inside. Again, I think he might be starting another lap. Coming onto the Wellington straight, I think he is on a lap. Now just into the Brooklands corner, gonna hug the inside curb on the Luffield. Sometimes I just have to appreciate the sheer beauty of this circuit sometimes. Especially just watching the qualifying laps, especially for a corner like Cops, just seeing the movement of the car, just how it's performing under the G-forces. Sometimes it is simply jaw-dropping. As I think he might have actually backed out. And SideFX has actually backed out. He's invalidated his lap on the entry to Magnussen Beckett. Now we're right on board with the McLaren. Actually, now Prodigy is on a lap. Prodigy currently in P2. He's going to want to get as close as possible to Stealth Rex. He's actually might have backed. Yeah, he has his backed out of his lap now. Loose for his own lap. CJP. It's interesting. I've never seen CJP racing this league, but I have had experience racing with him in other leagues, and he's always been a quick driver. He's always been one of the top drivers in the tiers that I've seen him in. And he's well experienced. He will be having a mature head on him through this race today. As we come down the final back straight. As he's going to run out and try and take as much curve as possible. And it looks like he slightly missed the apex in the last game, but he comes around. That's 25-8. And that is only a 10th off Stealth Rex. And I actually misses Prodigy. Coming in setting the 25-7. And there's only 12 thousandths of a second. 12 hundredths of a second. My maths isn't mathing. 20 hundredths. Oh, it's something separating, but it really isn't that much. As I would look for the next car that's going to be able to set a lap. I just wonder whether the likes of Daleks and the Aston Martin and Lizard both haven't set a valid lap yet. We have to wonder whether they're going to be sort of starting to feel the pressure now. As closing in the last 3 minutes of the session, they've yet to set a time. They're going to be very careful in these track limits. If they invalidate, that is their quality simply just over. It amounts to nothing. So the McLaren who's on a lap coming into sector 3. And he's actually going to dive into the pits, and I wonder whether he will actually be able to get back out and set another lap. As now Stealth Rex is back on track. Looks like he's in the middle. He is up on his time already. And it was already an impressive lap from Stealth Rex. One of the tier's front runners. I'm gonna say, what can he pull out of this final qualifying run? He's come into the last corners. And he's into the pits. I don't know if he invalidated. It didn't look like he invalidated. And I don't think he's going to get enough time to come back out onto the track. There's only 2 minutes remaining in the session. I sort of have to wonder whether the likes of Prodigy are going to start to come back on track now. As actually, Prodigy is coming back on track now. And with Stealth Rex only entering the pit lane, this pole position could now just fall into any of these other drivers' hands, like Prodigy or CJP, or even the McLaren or Haas of Jesse and Zit. As it is actually incredibly close between the top 6, only about 4 attempts separating them. But more specifically, the top 5 only separated by about 3. As now we're going to ride on board with Hydro Blitz, currently sitting in P8. He is slightly down on his time. We'll go into the Cups corner. It was home with incident a few seasons ago, which was slightly controversial. It's now down into the fast flowing corners of Magus and Beckett. And he keeps it nice and tidy. He looks like a good run onto the back straight. Getting the power down, the DRS wide open as he pushes to get those final attempts out of his last run of the qualifying. He might encounter a little bit of traffic as the AlphaTauri is only starting his lap in front. He does get out of the way and coming around Club corner, and that is a 26.2. It's not much, but it is a position for him. And at the end of the day, come the end of the race, any position can matter. As now Prodigy is starting his lap, you're right on board with this, because this could shape up a big pole position. Interesting enough, Stealth Rex isn't going to make it back round, so pole position now lies in Prodigy's hands in the Alpine. As he's keeping it nice and tidy through sector 1. And if we look at the times getting the DRS on the Wellington straight, he might actually get slipstreamed from the Ferrari in front. And his sector 1 time is a 27.3. He's up on his lap by 2 hundredths. Which, right now, if he maintains this, that will put him on the front row. On pole position even. He's already on the front row. It's like through Cop's corner, keeping it nice and tight there, as he is looking like he might actually get slipstream the whole way down the back straight from this Ferrari in front. And could that be the difference between P1 and P2? As a good run out of Chapel corner, and get the DRS down the back straight, and he's going to try and get a little bit of slipstream. And he's going to downshift down into 7th gear, and try to run on the... And it seems he invalidated as he backs out lap right at the end. And now, look, maybe CJP, he could be going for pole position, or even Jesse, as we're round board with him through the last chicane. And on the club corner, looks like it could be a decent lap, but it is not enough for pole position. And CJP is going to come around. He is up on his time. That's a 26.0, lands him on P3. And what a battle for pole position at the end. Looked like it could have went Prodigy's way. Looked like it could have went CJP's way. But at the end of it has gone the way of Mercedes in Stealth Rex, the home team. And quite possibly home driver, though I'm not too sure on that. Picking up the pole position for round 3 here in Silverstone. And now we're going to have an interesting race in our hands, as the front drivers are really not separated by much. Now, I'm hearing chatter on the team radios that both Prodigy and CJP were holding purple sectors. So they both could have had a solid shot at going for that pole position, taking that P1, which could be crucial in the race. And now it's going to be interesting to see. Silverstone usually is a track which has quite high tyre degradation, so it's going to be interesting what tyres people have saved and what sort of strategies we're going to see, as especially on this new game. It always seems to be every single compound is now viable off the start, as there's just 0.018 separating the top two drivers here. I really hope that it will be that close in the race, as now we go in onto the grid. Let's get a lovely view of the pit lane. And now, let's take this time just to have a little recap of the driver's standings. As so far this season, as of right now, after round 2, it's currently Side FX, the reigning champion in the Ferrari, who is leading the championship, but only by 1 point to Lizard, who I think actually didn't have a great qualifying, as he is actually starting last on the grid. I don't think he got a valid lap, which just shows how strict the track limits around Silverstone can be, especially in corners like Magus and Beckett's, where even like a slight inch can cost a whole lap. And going in the third, and quite an interesting one, is Simon Dev, placing P4 in the first race, P3 in Austria. As he's currently in the midfield, it could be interesting, as now it's lights out and away we go for the Silverstone Grand Prix, as it looks like the Merc doesn't get a good getaway, and Prodigy is now in the P1 going in the Abbey. The cars all jostle in positions, a few cars actually go wide in the background, and Prodigy is in the lead by 2 tenths in the first section. There's yellow flags in sector 1 as Latifi has gone off. Ironic. And now we go back to this battle at the front. And it appears that Prodigy is actually under pressure already from Stealth Rex. Darren in the Brooklyn is not going to go for a move, but we're going to look behind, and Jesse, Zit and Millard. Millard's gained 1 position. He's going to look at the move up in the Luffield. We're going to wonder if he can get a better exit, as he doesn't on the run in the Copso, and he's just fallen away from the 2 cars in front. And Stealth Rex again, not letting Prodigy get away from him. He is desperate to get back into that P1, as in the Magus and Beckus we go. Not a place where you really see many overtakes, but he is closing up. It seems he just has so much more downforce, as Hydro Blizzard is out of the session. That is a virtual safety car. And it appears that Lucifer was actually caught up in that instance as well, coming out of cups. I didn't quite catch that, but it's already an early DNF with only a VSE, which, judging by the placement of that Alfa Romeo, seems like it really could have been like a solid shout for a full safety car. Let's lap on in this race. I don't think anyone will really pit yet unless they have damage, because it is still very early days, but I'm just going to recap this order now. As after lap 1, we have Prodigy leading the way from Stealth Rex, and Jesse in the Haas, Zit in the McLaren, Millard made up a position, got in the P5, Simon Deff is up in the P6, and that was I think it was actually quite a great start from him. It's coming from he came from P7 on the grid, which wasn't many positions, but it was positions. Side FX actually had a really great start, as he comes from P12, and I wonder when this virtual safety car is actually going to end, and whether it's going to benefit Prodigy or Stealth Rex now. And if we just get the tyres up, that's interesting. Jesse, it's going to be one of the more aggressive drivers on the start. He's opted for the soft compound. Actually, someone who's gone on. Oh, as the VSE is ending, and we are under green flags again. It looks like the Haas might actually attempt to move in the cups, and these 4 cars going for cups so close, as Miller does actually run wide, and Jesse's going to look towards the move for Meisenbeck. He does think better of it, but this battle could shape up to be a classic, as it looks like Jesse is starting to get a little bit of slipstream, but the McLaren actually is gaining. Now into the last turn, going down in towards the chicane. And is he going to go for a move? He does actually go for a dive bomb. What a move from Jesse, as he is now going aggressive. That is StealthRex down in the P3. But it's not the race start he was looking for, as now Jesse will be hunting down after Prodigy, who is on the slowest compound. And as I said, Lizard, the P2 in the championship at the moment, P20 to P7 in a matter of 3 laps, and this could be an immense drive from him, as he has opted for the more aggressive tyres. So I have to wonder whether he's going to push for track position and then just hold it on maybe the harder compounds and try and extend that second stint as long as possible. So we look back down to StealthRex, who was getting the DRS on Jesse, and he's not letting Jesse get away, although there is a tyre advantage. You have to wonder maybe if the deg is already starting to kick in for the Haas's tyres, as there's movement between Zit and Miller, and these two are going to have a side-by-side run in the cups. We've seen this before, it doesn't normally end well, but the McLaren sticks the inside, makes it through, and he retains that P4, as now we look at Miller possibly maybe trying to come back onto the back straight. He keeps nice and tidy, and it looks like he just has so much more downforce through that Magus and Beckett section, and he's 2 temps up. He has the DRS, and will he go for a move as he pulls out from behind the McLaren, and looks a bit of wheel banging as he goes round the outside. The McLaren sticks it, late braking. He's going to try and force him wide, as Miller just keeps it in the track, and he is ahead into the last chicane, but the McLaren may go for switchback, and Miller does actually gain that P4. That's a nice little scrap we're seeing. And our Aston Martin of Daleks, but I think, has actually spun off. It doesn't seem there's anyone else being involved in the incident, but we are seeing a number of drivers. As the AlphaTauri's off, that's not even an AlphaTauri, that's the McLaren's actually gone off. And Zit, who was having such a good start, has spun off, but looks like coming out of Abbey. As we go back towards the front now, Prodigy 1.9 seconds ahead. He is stretching his legs on those harder tyres, and it looks like Jesse is starting to feel the tyre degradation on those tyres. I'll just enable the telemetry here, as I may have forgot to do that at the start. But Zit and Ruben now battling, as the Alfa Romeo actually has a decent amount of ERS, as Zit has a huge moment, and he's round, going onto the old pit straight, and he's facing backwards, and he's retired on track. Okay, so I'd imagine someone will need to clip that, as that will not lie well with the stewards, as you are not really supposed to retire on track. Let's just look back towards StealthRex. He is actually within the DRS again of Jesse, but he has used a massive amount of ERS. 20% remaining already as we round club corner, going on the lap 5 here. Actually, Prodigy already under 10% as well, and he is really pushing those hearts to the limit. As the yellow flag sector 2, as Latifi is out. I wonder where we've seen this before, as it doesn't appear to be a safety car, as Latifi has gone off the cups. But StealthRex is going to get the DRS going down in the Burtons. He's not going to be close enough to make a move, but if we look behind him, Lizard already P20 to P5 in 5 laps, and this is looking like it is going to be a masterclass of race, as Millard in front of him goes a little bit deep in the left field, and Lizard he is on the edge of the DRS now, and you have to wonder whether he's going to be within like overtake distance within the next lap. As StealthRex now coming into the fast and flowing Magus and Beckett section, he's going to have to look at getting a really good exit, maybe even getting Jesse on this lap, as those soft tyres go off so quickly around here. And he is within a tenth. He's pulling to the inside. Let's go on the inside with the DRS, and as in the end, it's quite a simple move for him. As Lizard behind now, just 4 tenths off of Millard. Although Jesse seems to be feeling the effects of that tyre wear, the Haas of Lizard doesn't seem to be feeling very much of it, as he is still rapid. And he's catching up the cars on the better compound for this stage of the race. As Jesse will actually stay in the DRS for Stealth Rex. As we come out of the first chicane, he'll be on the Welling straight. I have to wonder whether he will be close enough to make a move. But we also have to keep an eye on the other Haas. Both Haas putting together a really solid strategy, going for the aggressive tires at the start and trying to just make up track position. As Jesse isn't close enough, but Lizard may well be close enough in the following corners. As he looks like he's going to try and maybe go... He's not going to be close enough to make a move, but he is going to switch towards the inside coming out of Luffield. And he has got a slightly better exit than Millard on the run down the Copse. He's not going to be close enough to make an overtake, but he is still rapidly closing that gap down. And you have to wonder how long can Millard hold him off, especially with the DRS as we go through Max and Beckett's again. And such a satisfying sequence of corners. You see the downforce really just at its best. And he gets the rear wing wide open. I believe it's a 10km/h advantage over the Alpine. As the Alpine is actually, that looks dangerous for Millard. As seemingly moving very late, and he is forcing the Haas to the outside. And I'd imagine the Haas is going to be too happy as he goes for a move in the Stowe. And Millard sticks it around the outside, and this is shaping up to be quite a feisty battle. As he does, there is a little bit of tyre banging. And you have to wonder whether Lizard is going to feel this is really fair racing for Millard. As still close behind in the turn 1. It's going to come up the first. Is he going to go for a move again? Millard just cutting across, holding him off. But you have to wonder, while all this is going on, Side FX is close behind. He is going to be gaining. But as we watch this battle on the Wellington Straight, he gets the DRS again, 10km/h more than Miller's going to have. And coming into Brooklands, he's a lot closer this time. He is going to attempt to send it, and he does. And there's contact, and Lizard has a huge moment. I can't say who's to blame there. It looks like they were both battling really hard. But I imagine that may be brought up to the steer's room post-race, as a lot of instances tend to be. But he's still keeping very close. But while this is going on, Miller's actually gone wide at Copse. Side FX is sitting behind. He's thinking, this is going to play right into my hands. He has gained 4 times while these lot have been battling. And Lizard's going to have another bite at the DRS. I'm just wondering, which way is he going to go this time? Is he opts to go to the inside? You take the inside corner, and in the end, it is a simple pass this time round. But it looks like Miller might actually come back into the last chicane. And Miller not close enough to maintain. Oh, it's a huge one. He actually does get back alongside, but he's just had too much moment to just keep the car there. And it looks like Lizard might have this move done and dusted as the first, not the first, but one of the first 3-second time penalties now come for the AlphaTauri of Liam 70v3 down in P16. But just keep a close eye on his battle in front. Millard actually looking for a move there, and that was interesting. Maybe a bit hopeful, but at the end of the day, opportunism can be what wins you a race. As he gets the DRS, he's going to go round the outside through Brooklands. And he's going to try and just keep as close as possible in the Luffield. And he's going to maybe switch towards the inside line as he's right on the rear diffuser of that Haas. He is not letting him have that position without a fight. And on the run in the Copse, he's using his overtake, going around the outside in the Copse. And if he can make the stick, then that will be a wonderful... And he does make it stick. And what a move there from Millard in the Alpine. Round the outside Copse, we don't see that very often. We have to wonder whether he's going to keep this position going on the straight, as he is going to be under threat from the DRS coming from Jesse, not Jesse, Lizard. I do apologise for mixing up these names, but as we look again, he's not quite close enough from this time round to capitalise on the DRS, but it's more interesting coming on the lap 8 now, going on the lap 9 actually. Jesse is definitely feeling the effects of the tyre degradation. He has actually dropped to a second behind. Lizard still keeping pace on those softs, although he isn't using as much ERS as Millard is. We have to wonder, when are these soft runners going to pit? These softs are not, they are not a good tyre, as we do get a yellow flag. And who's gone off? It's the Alfa Romeo of Ruben and the Dord Penny. You've seen we've got an incident through Abbey. And maybe we can find out a bit more than that post-race. As again, we just look at this battle for P4. As Miller's on the inside through Brooklands. He's going to have the outside line in the left field, which will give him possibly the better exit onto the old pit straight, as he's deploying the ERS, deploying. And he does actually get a 3-second time penalty on the inside of the old pit straight. He's maintained the position in the cups, but again, just a mighty scrap here. We have to wonder now whether Lizard is going to go as aggressive as he was before, as Miller does now have that 3-second time penalty. That will come into play deciding as we get another yellow flag sector 1. So it looks like Lucifer spun, where he's going slowly on the Wellington straight. Darren in P17, not having the greatest of races. I know Jezzy's actually catching up at the front, but Lizard capitalizing the DRS again, but Millard is not going to give up that position for a fight. And he looks to the inside of the final chicane. Doesn't quite make it stick this time, but he's still going to fall close behind. You have to wonder at this point as well, although Lizard has seemed mightily fast through this section, it is just going to have to be really curious whether or not those tires are going to fall off. And as Millard makes contact with Lizard through turn 3, as Lizard is round, that will definitely come up in the stewards room after the race. Quite possibly maybe a penalty, because it looked a bit opportunistic from the Alpine, and that side effect says thank you very much, takes that P4, and now we're looking at Jezzy quite possibly pitting soon. I think after that Lizard might pit as well, but it's unfortunate. Such a mighty battle for maybe 6 laps though. And it's unfortunate it ends the collision. But now let's look at Jezzy, whose soft tires seem to have found a new life. And he's catching back up to Stealth Rex, who did actually pass him earlier in the race. But we notice as well, while all this battle was taking place, the front 3 have just been able to stretch their legs and gain a huge advantage now. But as Jezzy's going to use the DRS, he's not going to get quite close enough to Stealth Rex this time round. He might get a move in the Vale. He's not quite close enough on this lap. As we're going to go down the midfield, Simon Def having a bit of a battle, as he's closing in and Ruben with the DRS, although he has used a lot of his ERS deployment. Only 5% remaining, and he does have about 15 laps to go on that. As now, Prodigy's going to come round Club Corner and go on the lap 11. And he's just enjoying his time at the front, although Stealth Rex now does appear to be gaining ever so slightly. 3 tenths on this lap, but it's shaping up to be a mighty drive from the Alpine, emulating his performance that we seen last night in Tier 1. Jezzy's just getting ever closer to the rear end of the Mercedes. I have to wonder whether he is going to push, or whether he's going to pit maybe at the end of this lap, or at the end of the coming laps, because those soft tyres will 100% have to go off soon. As Millard run with 3-second penalty, the battle for the midfield for like P57 has calmed down a little bit, but Throne Globe having actually quite a decent race for himself, as he's closing in on Lizard, whose soft tyres are definitely feeling the effects of the degradation around such fast corners. And Throne Globe may actually get the jump on him in the DRS this straight. As we look at the penalties this race, Throne Globe is on 3 seconds. Anik Jawa actually on a 5-second, which I did miss. I'm not quite sure how he got. Might have been speeding the pit lane. And Throne Globe not quite close enough this lap to capitalise in the stove, but maybe he's going to look towards it in Vale, not close enough again. And Lizard doing just enough with those softs, as Jezzy is into the pit, the first of the soft runners to pit. And that's going to be interesting. Quite possibly Lizard will pit on the next lap now. And you have to wonder where the likes of Mill on the faster compounds might actually have to react to that to cover it off. And these Heart Runners just going to keep extending as much as possible. I imagine they might go to maybe lap 17, 18. And then maybe take a set of softs at the end. They could maybe go lap 16 and try and get a set of softs. Depends how brave they're really feeling. and how much they want to risk the chance of a late safety car. As we go back down the pack and look, Throne Globe again, a lot closer to the Lizard this time around. Again, as Lizard gets a free second now, and that is going to change his race up completely. As Throne Globe gaining on him again into the run down the cops on the old pit straight, just not quite close enough. And while this is going on, Mixer Rejak having a bit of a quiet race to himself, but he is making up the positions, and he is slowly getting up the pack. And now, you have to wonder whether he's going to capitalise off these two battling in front. As Throne Globe again, another bout of the DRS down this back straight, and he takes the inside line and actually clears Lizard this time around. And it's really interesting, will Lizard actually pit this lap? And it looks like he is pitting this lap. So again, it's going to maybe start triggering strategy thoughts from the front three drivers, who seemingly have been in a race of their own this race. The gap between P3 and P4 right now standing at 11.2 seconds. Might even get higher as Ruben does jump Lizard as he's in the pit lane. Ruben on those hards. I have to wonder, what if a safety car were to come out now, these hard runners would benefit hugely from it, as Taru in the Williams gets a 5 second for speeding in the pit lane, and 8 seconds penalty is really not having a great time, as Anik Jawa does actually get past Lizard. And has Anik Jawa pitted? Is he on hard? So let's just double check. Anik Jawa is still on his hards from the start of the race, so Lizard will probably come back and fight that soon, maybe in the coming laps. But interesting now as well is whether these media runners are going to start pinning, as we'll watch Miller at this lap, as there doesn't seem to be actually, Rejak has now caught up the Lizard. I didn't quite notice that. Does actually have a penalty which was picked up within the last lap and a half. Going through Brooklands now, as we tight in the Luffield, is going to hope to get a better exit down on this old pit straight. Rejak also on fresh tyres, same as Lizard, but he is on the slower compound. Lizard should have a tyre advantage as he is stretching his legs a little bit down the straight, but Rejak having a massive barrier advantage, 30% over him, and whether he can tactically use that and keep this gap. But as it looks like, Lizard is actually beginning to pull away as he gets him out of DRS range. He might just have DRS for this lap, he does, but he's going to struggle to stay within that 1 second gap. As the gap at the front actually beginning to go down now as well, as Stealth Rex is beginning to catch Prodigy. Prodigy does appear to be saving a little bit more ERS than Stealth Rex is though, and this could shape up to be a brilliant battle towards the end. That could go on right till the end of this race, as CJP now in the pit lane on the fresh mediums. No penalties this race, but it did seem like this race could have went a lot better for him. I don't know if he caught an incident maybe, as Lucifer also gets a penalty now. Rejak again within the DRS going down into the Wellington straight, but it doesn't really look like he's going to be close enough to make anything of this DRS. But even he will have that longevity advantage over these medium tyres, so if he just sticks to that DRS, just keeps picking away at the advantage head, he will eventually feel the effects of those tyres, as Liam gets another 3 second penalty, and this has not been a misremember, as Prodigy pits from the lead. He's decided to pull the trigger in his hard tyres, as we look at Side FX also pitting in the hards, and the hards may have been degrading a lot quicker than initially thought, as Prodigy is onto the mediums. I was thinking maybe he could have gone for a hard soft strategy, but he's opted for the hard mediums. And same as Side FX also going on the fresh mediums, leaving Stealth Rex in P1 as it stands. I have to wonder whether he is going to pit due to Prodigy pin, or whether he's going to stick out, play his own game, and go for the gamble of those softs. As Side FX in the he's still running P5. Throne Globe also in the pits along with Ruben. All the hard runners now starting to pit as Mixer Rejak sets the fastest lap of the race, and he's now going to jump the cars that are in the pit lane up in the P8. And Rejak and Lizard can both push through the pack. They are both top drivers. They both have experience in league racing. They can just keep their heads down and start to push towards the front of the pack if they maybe work together. which it doesn't look like Richard's battling too hard, as he does actually go down into the inside into the Brooklyn's corner. And he gets another 3-second time penalty, and that could be crucial in the final results. Keeping it tight on Luffield, on board with Lizard. Lizard actually gets a better exit on the old pit straight. Good look, maybe at an overtake in the cups. We have already seen some overtakes in the cups this race. Oh, it's not common. And he does actually keep the section, but we're going to go and look at Simon Defnar, who is catching up with Front Globe. Simon Defnar had a relatively quiet race. Usually the driver's quite entertaining. Always seems to be in the thick of the action. Sort of, he's kept his head down. He's picked up the positions where he's needed to. It's obviously not all gone his way this race. As now, like Millard, Prodigy team, is now in the pits. He's opted for soft tyres, and that could be interesting in the long run. As Stealth Rex is now pit, he's come out behind Prodigy again. It seems that the undercut has worked insanely well for Prodigy, or actually maybe not, as the telemetry lies this for a bit. Actually no, it has, as Prodigy has actually gained the second on Stealth Rex, but Stealth Rex will have obviously only a lap tire advantage, but at the end of the day a lap could be crucial. CJ Pinar sort of demonstrating the speed that he has as a driver as he uses those fresh mediums to set the fast lap of the race. As we're going to go back to the front, Jesse's 4-lap old mediums, and Jesse, seemingly from nowhere, has played the strategy call absolutely perfect. Now 1.8 seconds in lead when he pit from, I believe, P3. This is a huge strategy from the boys of the Haas, as he does get a 3-second and his commentator's curse. He is not going to be comfortable anymore, as he will have to stretch his legs and hope the Prodigy cannot catch him, although Prodigy is currently getting only 1.6 behind. Jesse will need to pull 1.4 if he wants to keep that P1, or rely on maybe a penalty coming Prodigy's way behind him. Let's go back down the pack again. Anik Jala now actually quite close to Mick Jurejak, who is quite close to the Lizard, as his free car battle could be quite spicy shaping up. Going on to the back straight, we're going to go down in the Stowe. It doesn't look like anyone's going to be close enough to make moves, but they will follow very closely in the veil. It's going to be interesting whether maybe Rejek might go for a dive bomb. He does opt to stick behind, as Anik Jao is in the pit lane. He was actually still on those old hards from the start. 17 laps in those tyres is respectable, and I believe he will probably opt for those soft tyres, and it'll be interesting to see. Maybe possibility of a late safety car. Will that benefit him in the end? As Millard actually on the soft tyres as well. I have to wonder whether that tyre advantage will help him catch up to the drivers such as Side, who have always been very fast in this tier. As Prodigy, he's putting in mighty lap times on them fresh mediums. 2 laps old, and he's already closing down to nearly within DRS range. Both similar ERS level. This could be a battle for the race win right till the end, as shaping up to be. 1.1 seconds going through the Mags and Beggars complex. Gonna go down in the Chapel corner, downshift in the 6th gear, and he's going to get back on the par. He's not going to get the DRS this lap, and Liam 73 does actually get another penalty. We look back down to Rejak, and this battle in the midfield, as Rejak does actually go off a little bit, but he still maintains that 4/10 gap, and so we go back in front. This battle is heating up. Prodigy already, like, he's known. He's obviously an icon of this tier at this point. In championship battles, just dominant race wins over his 3, maybe actually 4 seasons in the tier at this point. Always been one of the top drivers. I was always one of the top people you aim to beat. It's like if you could beat Prodigy, you knew you had a good race. And he is just again having another one of his immense drives. As we've seen, like, he had a really good performance in Silverstone last night for the tier 1 race, as he does come down the Wellington straight in the Brooklands. He's going to keep close behind 2/10 the gap now, as he is pushing those medium tyres. I just wonder if he is actually going to start maybe burning those tyres out, trying to push against this car in front. As Jesse, only attempt, will he? He's going to pull the inside. He's going to look to the moving cops. He's actually going to think better of it and go, you know what, I'm going to wait for the DRS in this next straight. As he's just keeping close. Just that 2-10, maintaining that gap. And you have to wonder whether, once he clears Jesse, you have to wonder how far can Prodigy pull this. Can he get out of the DRS? As he does, he pulls the inside. Are we going to go down in the Stowe? And just even before braking, he has completed that move. And we're going to look the Haas might actually look at coming back in the Vale, as he shows Prodigy's there, but in the end opts to stay behind. He's going to have to try and stick within that DRS range. Oh, Jesse does actually have a penalty. He does have that free second earlier mentioned from Globe, has got a penalty in P10 right now. And Stealth Rex does seem to be gaining a little bit. But now Stealth Rex actually a net P2 with Jesse's penalty. I have to wonder whether those 4 laps that Jesse had on those medium tyres are going to come into play, as he's already out of the 1 second range. DRS will pull him back in, but whether he's going to maintain it for the rest of these corners, it looks like Jesse is just fading away in this race. As whether it's maybe Jesse is starting to drop off with tyre degradation, or if it is just the immense pace of that Alpine in front, as Prodigy just pulling away, looking like he could just pick up another race win in Tier 2. As Stealth Rex actually is also gaining Jesse now. Jesse now losing another 2 tenths to Prodigy. Those tyres really are not looking great for him, as Stealth Rex only a 5% battery. One of the fast drivers, but he has not been great in the ERS management this race, as he's seemingly just deploying all of it. He's pushing his hardest to try and pick up a podium, maybe even P2, and quite possibly at this point, P1, it's not out of the question. 6 laps to go in this race, anything could happen. Could be a crash, could be a safety car, could be anything. And he's now going to start looking at maybe getting into the DRS in this lap. Going around the club corner on the lap 20 now. 6 laps remain in this. This battle could go right down the wire, as there is moving the midfield as Lizard gets back past Rayjack, who actually overtook him, which I did actually miss on stream. I was too busy focusing on that battle heating up at the front. As Stealth Rex now, 6 tenths, he's going to get the DRS down this Wellington straight. 4 tenths now the gap as he opens that rear wing. An extra 10 kilometers an hour going to help him out immensely. Is he going to look to the inside? For Brookings, he does look to the inside, and it looks like he's getting very close. Maybe a slight bit of contact there as he looks to the outside through Luffield. And there is contact, and I'm not quite sure what kind of contact that was, but there was contact nonetheless. As this game demonstrates this lovely face, as there's a yellow flag sector 3. The AlphaTauri of Liam 73 spun round at Stowe. Luckily no safety car, but that could have changed the events of this race hugely, as Liam is going to peel into the pit lane. And is he going to retire? It's really not been a race to remember for him, sadly. But again, we're just going to go back and look at the spell at the front. And Stealth Rex has kept that position over Jesse, and you now have to wonder whether he's going to start to push for that 2 second gap on Prodigy. He actually has a 0% battery there briefly before entering the Vale corner. He's looking around the club corner. He's deploying again. He's really trying to just get the most out of the CRS, as Prodigy actually using a decent bit of ERS himself. Both P1 and P2, no penalties between them. Just going to be on track with just raw pace to decide the win, which is exactly how we like it here in PAR. As that gap sits around 1.8, we're going to go back down and look again at this battle between Mixer and Lizard. And they aren't particularly gaining a huge amount in Millward by the looks of it. Millard's sitting pretty comfortably in P5, although I do think there is a solid possibility of a post-race penalty coming his way, as we now just ride on board with Mixer. Has a little bit of a moment there, coming out of the farm section onto the Welling Straight. He's going to get the DRS of him, but with that moment, he's not going to get quite close enough this lap. And Jesse's actually he's going to be within DRS range again, saving his ERS. He might be able to use that to start coming back towards Stealth Rex, or maybe, you know, if they have a little bit of teamwork, these two drivers, they can both use the DRS to pull each other and get that 1.5 second gap the Prodigy back down. Prodigy looking pretty comfortable right now, although he isn't pulling away. He's not looking majorly under threat just yet, as Jesse isn't close enough in the Vale. But these front three in a race of their own seemingly, as there is a 15-second gap to P4 of Side FX, who isn't a slow driver by any means. He has been like a reigning champion and says everything you need to know about him. Always had a cool head, always been fast in the races, and even he can't keep up with the pace that these front runners are pulling, as Ruben and Liam both getting 3-second time penalties here. And just right on board again with Mixer, and he's a lot closer for the club corner this time. As going to follow him close behind Nabi, only 70% ERS remaining, and whether he's going to maybe go for a move for the farm section, breaking the 100-meter board. He's keeping it nice and tight to the inside line, as it looks like Lizard's going a little bit deep, as he might actually get a good exit on the Wellington straight here. And he gets the DRS open. He's going to look into the Brooklands corner again, where we've seen so many moves, attempted moves and battles this race. And he makes that one look easy, which it can't have been by any means to keep up with the Lizard, who was having a massive race up until that unfortunate incident he had with Millard. And now Jesse within 3/10 at the front, and this battle could spice up. He does have the DRS, not quite close enough in the snow, but he may be close enough in the veil. But it looks like Selfrex does gain a little bit, just enough to keep ahead. The gap now back up a little bit. 2/10 Prodigy has pulled in front. And you have to wonder whether these two are going to put their differences aside at the moment in their each other's races, just to unite forces and maybe push towards Prodigy, as it looks like he is pulling away. 3 laps to go in this race. It looks like Prodigy could be taking that checker flag in P1 if something doesn't go wrong, which I really don't want to jinx it. So we all know the commentator's curse has a habit of striking it, especially in the F1 23 game. So Anik Zhao now getting the 3-second time penalty down in P14. And this battle at the front, as these front runners been battling all race. As Jesse gets not the greatest exit by the looks of it, as he is dropping a little bit on the old pit straight. It's not going to be close enough for anything in the cops. However, he can maybe have a better run through cops, just to try and stick close within that fast flowing S section of Max and Beckett's. And just try and keep close on the hanger straight with that DRS. 40% DRS, while Steph Rex is down in 2%. He has been saving. It looks like he might just mount a huge attack as he uses all of, like, he's dumping his ERS only a little bit. Maybe overestimated how much he's going to use though, but he wasn't quite close enough again in the snow. Which, Stealth Rex has been pushing every ounce out of that car, and he's doing just enough to stay ahead as Prodigy now gains another 10th in front. And the Alpine looks like he's slowly starting to get comfortable. Jesse and Stealth Rex just going to keep battling as Lizard now coming back at Rejak. Both of these drivers have penalties, so they will be fighting for track position, as coming down in the Vale, going to go up in the club corner. Still very close behind, 68% battery, and you have to wonder, when is Lizard going to start using this battery? Huge amount of battery left with only like 3 laps of the race actually to go. And still sitting at 63% as we go back to this battle at the front again. Which I do apologise for not showing as much of the midfield as maybe some people would hope this race, but this battle at the front is just too good to not watch. And this is what we love to see, is good hard racing at the front. And not too many incidents. Obviously we had a few incidents with the likes of Millard and Lizard, as Lizard does actually get past Rejak. And Rejak might come back at him on the run in the pit straight. It looks like he is gaining a little bit on the exit, but Lizard with that huge advantage of ERS is going to manage to stay ahead. As Jesse in the P2 now, but Jesse does have that 3-second penalty. You do have to keep in mind he is going to have to try and pull 3 seconds or hope the Stealth Rex has a moment. And on older tires, it's going to be hard, as he has a moment out of Club's corner. And our Stealth Rex, he's going to be close in the Abbey. Looks at the move, thinks better of it. He's going to back out, maybe go for a move into the farms section, or maybe even onto the Wellington straight. As the Aston Martin, I think, of Daleks is actually going to get lapped. And he's going to give Prodigy DRS, which could be huge for Prodigy, just keeping that gap out in front. Lap and a half to go, and this, all I can say is it's been an immense drive from the Alpine driver. As we now look back into the action again in Brooklands, not quite close enough for the move. We've seen so much action from that DRS zone in the Brooklands, as we always do with Silverstone. Stealth Rex 2 10-star on the pit straight. You have to wonder whether he's actually going to go for a move on Jesse, or if he's just going to sit behind, just pick his battles and hope that just bank on the penalty. As it seems, Prodigy may actually be, he's hanging back a little just to strategically get the DRS, but I don't really know if that was worth it for him, as he does actually lose 2 temps. And Stealth Rex has got DRS in the Haas, and he's going to come back towards, he's going to stay in that DRS distance there. And it looks like Jesse not in the best position for P2 at the moment, as Rajak goes hugely wide at the Cop's corner there. And again, P3 for Stealth Rex is not a bad result. P2, as it stands with penalties, obviously could change post-race, as the stewards often do have a hand inside races, although it's obviously not the greatest feeling when it does. So for the driver and for everyone watching, as we all do want those battles to be decided on track. As coming on to the final lap, now Prodigy sitting in the lead, Stealth Rex just going to sit in the DRS. I want an immense drive from Prodigy today. He's just led by example. Picked the right strategy. He stretched his legs, just picking the right times to push on those hard tires. And his tire management was amazing. As it's going to come back through the iconic Magus and Becky section again, just so you can see just the confidence he has in that car. And once again, this Prodigy in P1, as he has been quite often in this tier. We've seen him in tier 1 last night, we've seen him in tier 2 tonight, and it's another brilliant race from the Alpine driver. And you have to wonder, maybe he could come back, as he has actually got a points advantage over the reigning champion this season, whether he can try and claim his championship back. As coming around the final turn, Prodigy wins the Silverstone Grand Prix for round 3 in PAR. Second goes to Stealth Rex in the end. Jesse just fall into the grasp of that penalty. Side FX there, looks like he's going to come home with the P4. And if we start to look at penalties, just to see final finishing position, Rajak, unfortunately, on 11 seconds penalty. I didn't quite pick that up, Junior. As Side takes P4, another good result for the reigning champion. Millard in P5, that's a good result for the Alpine, who's actually a reserve driver. Lizard in P6, Rajak P7. Ruben, who's always been, never been a front runner, particularly in this tier, has P9, which is a good result. CJP, decent recovery in the P7. Simon Deff in P8, had a bit of a quiet race for him today. Was in P3 in the standings. It should be interesting to see how this race actually shapes the standings. I was interested to see that race. Just all the battles, and hopefully there's just more to come of that this season. For me and for all the viewers. As Liam, I think actually, I don't know if he's hit the wall or if he's just retired. He's just retired, which was a bit odd to do on the final lap of the race. But again, just another splendid drive from the Alpine driver. Prodigy just showing again how dominant he can be on his day. And just no one really looked like challenging him past those first few laps. Got in the P1 Abbey, lap 1, turn 1. Avoided all the trouble in the middle of the pack. And honestly, if there is any key moments I think that we're going to look back on at the end of the season, I think that round 3 in Silverstone is going to be one of them, as Prodigy just having an immense drive, taking yet another P1 in PAR. And Jesse, who I believe has actually had, obviously he had the penalty, P2 on track, which was a good result for the Haas driver. Although he did get the penalty, but P3 anyway is a brilliant result for the Scotsman. As Stealth Rex getting P2 in his home Grand Prix, SciFX just narrowly, in P4, barely missing out on the home Grand Prix podium. And now we're just going to look at next week, as I will be bringing, I believe, Actually, can't particularly remember what track it is at the moment. I will double check, but we're looking at Spa next week. Spa always has been an iconic track and always puts up some great battles. And it's always interesting to see. It's one of those tracks, some drivers are good at it, some drivers aren't. And there's always varying pace. And it's going to be interesting whether Prodigy can carry this pace he had today over into that next race and maybe look at pushing for that championship again. But it's another lovely night of racing in PAR. We've had some great battles now. And that will be all for me. And all from Tier 3. Tier 2, I do apologise if I've offended any of the drivers racing who aren't Tier 3. But we wish all of these viewers a wonderful rest of your night. And I shall disappear now.